Hi, my name is Larry Mounds. I'm a senior at Capital Prep now, currently. Next year I'm going to attend Assumption College on a football and academic scholarship. I heard the news they're talking about taking out sports out of Hartford. Unfortunately that shouldn't happen. It's a bad thing. I think it is because people get a lot of opportunities out of things like this. People benefit from a lot of stuff like this. Yes, like I said before, I have a scholarship now. My parents wouldn't be able to pay $52,000 a year to go to school for me. So, just taking that away would, harm and hurt a lot of potential great football players and just other athletes. It just wouldn't seem right, not having sports teams at Capital Prep, because we're used to a winning tradition and just being trailblazers and being who we are, and that's just, athletics play a big part of our school, and it wouldn't be great. Thank you.
Hi.
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Where's the papers? One of the young ladies are passing out the papers. Do you have more? I need one for the record.
Why are sports at the high school level important? They're extremely important because it adds another opportunity for kids to release their frustration. We know that we come to school for academics, but kids also come to school because they love to participate in sports. And the opportunity every day to go out there and learn the advantages of teamwork, camaraderie, unity, discipline, that's what sports give you. And we want the opportunity for all of our kids to have the privilege of playing high school sports. In addition to that, high school sports are important because it's a way for our kids to provide an avenue to college through financial resources. We know it costs to go to college, and we know that some kids, that's what they do. They put a lot of time, effort, and energy into their sport and into what they do every day. And so at the end of that 4 years of high school, through all that work of middle school, elementary school, it gives them an opportunity to earn something, earn a college scholarship, and put them in a position to be successful in the workforce, to put them in a position to earn a college scholarship and make something of themselves and make their families proud. So it is extremely important that we keep high school sports intact because it's an opportunity for our kids to gain scholarships, athletic scholarships, and them to learn valuable lessons that you sometimes cannot learn in the classroom.
Hello, my name is Damari Bournes, and I am a member of Hartford Communities That Care Youth Leadership Academy and a member of the Education Work Group. For the past 27 weeks, we have been examining the intersections between education, poverty, violence, and trauma, and to develop the following policy and program recommendations. 1. Address the lack of funding that results in limited academic offerings such as AP classes and college courses taken while in high school. 2. Correct the shortage of extracurricular and sports opportunities and repair and maintain facilities so they send the right message to children about the importance of education. 3. Recruit teachers of color and teach the history of institutional racism. 4. Support bullying, prevention, and trauma support programs. 5. Stop the closing of schools and libraries. Thank you for your time, and I hope you can support our recommendations.
We're going to go ahead and call to order the Labor, Education, Workforce, and Youth Development Committee meeting for this April the 10th, 2018. I'm the chair, Councilwoman Arjo Winch. Members of the committee are to my left, Councilman Sanchez, and to my right, Councilman Deutsch. We have 2 items on our agenda this evening. If there are no objections, I'd like to take item number 2 first. Item number 2 is a resolution removing football and similar risky sport activities playing fields in Hartford Public Schools. I'll entertain conversation at this time from anyone who wishes to make comments. Anybody have comments about sports in schools? Come up here. You can just stand right here.
If you stand here, you can face everyone.
Just make sure your name clearly so I can write it down.
All right, how y'all doing? My name is Garrett Millers. I'm a coach at Capital Prep. I coach football and lacrosse. My personal views on the attack on, in my opinion, attack on school sports is that I don't like it. For the simple fact is, I coach lacrosse, that gives some kids a chance, just move around, stay active, because they're coming out of the winter months. It allows them to, burn some weight, just to be active. We talk about play 60, we talk about our kids are getting unhealthy, but we really don't have resolutions. We're introducing lacrosse, let these kids run around after the winter months, burn some of that weight so they can move around a bit. And a lot of our inner city kids don't even know what it's about because they never seen it. So we're bringing it out now. As far as the football concern, I do have a bunch of papers. I've done a lot of research that the numbers are starting to decline. They've done research in South Carolina and at Greensville, and they talk about 33% droppage of concussion due to monitoring of just correcting like heads-up football and just proper technique. As far as what I personally seen, been through with the football round, I'm not a big fan of it because then if you get rid of sports like a football or basketball or any other contact sports, you're opening up the doors for gangs to set up shop, in my personal opinions, because kids listen to the loudest voice. If they ain't got no one to drive them away from certain sports, they're gonna, next thing you know, the Bloods and Crips or someone else gonna set up shop. Those kids, they're gonna start recruiting those kids like crazy. Next thing you know, it's gonna be an epidemic of like, okay, violence is gonna start to rise because you got a bunch of kids. Who they gonna follow? Who they gonna listen to? People gonna get arrested left and right. I personally seen, and there's a few of them in this room, kids that literally could have went, I'm gonna either die or get arrested to, all right, I'm on the verge of getting a scholarship, I have higher dreams. Just to let you know, today I was supposed to be bringing three of my athletes to Boston College to view practice. Due to my flat tire, I couldn't do, so I'm going on Thursday with 2 of the young men. And just to talk about some experiences that I have, especially working with some of the kids at Capital Prep, and just through, not just them, but just in the city of Hartford. I've taken my kids personally to Rutgers, Boston College, UConn, Syracuse, Ohio State, Penn State, Army, CCSU, Southern Connecticut, Trinity. Those are some of the college visits that they personally went on and got a chance to go to these practices and/or games. I also went down to U.S. Army All-American game about 2 years ago, or part of the combine for one of my players, to make sure another U.S. Army All-American combine invitee is in the room today that no one would have known if he didn't have sports to his name, where he was really given no shot. But he's in the room. There's only 2 kids I know, and I asked another coach who's 32-year experience to name 2 kids that have been to the All-American combine. He gave me none. 2 of them are at our school. One of them's in this room right now. He may speak later. And then just within this past year, we got 6 kids with just scholarship money from athletics. 2 are going to University of Connecticut on a full ride. One's going to Central Connecticut. One is in this room right now. He's going to Assumption. Another one's going to Southern. He's got some money, and another one is back at the school.
You gotta talk so fast. We got time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was on a timer. I tried to.
No, we don't. Slow it down.
Okay.
Timer right now.
I apologize. But just within the past few years of being at the school and working with the youth and also the kids that became high school kids, I've had the pleasure of bringing kids to the Rival Combine, which is National Combine, and the Nike Combine, which is National Combine. Every other year, with the exception of this past year, we had a kid recognized as one of the top 300 kids within the New England area. At the Rivals Combine a few years ago, I brought around 13 kids. Last year, I brought about 7. So our kids in Hartford, I'm trying to get them out nationally known, and the pleasure of being out there. This past weekend, I had the pleasure of coaching the Nike opening for the 2nd year in a row. So I got a chance to work with those people: Willie McGinnis, Kevin Vickerson, Ryan Clark, Marvin Harrison was there, Shaquan Barkley was there. These are people that I got a chance to work with and speak to on hand. And also this past weekend, I just came back from the University of Clemson, got a chance to meet with their coaches, and they're excited to just come up north because they didn't know Connecticut had athletes. Last night, and I was telling one of my players, and I showed them the text message. I was texting Ohio State and the University of Alabama, letting them know about the kids that we have. They can't wait to come up here and just check out some of the Connecticut kids. So we get rid of sports in Connecticut, or just in Hartford in general. We're putting ourselves into the Stone Age. I don't think it's a good thing. I'm going to be working the Rivals Camp, which is another top 300 kids in the Northeast, and some from Florida and Ohio. That's in 3 weeks. And then in May, I'm going to probably be working the Under Armour Camp, which is another national camp. And I just think that if we don't get a chance to just get these kids out there, let them see the bigger picture. I had one kid who openly told in front of the team that I idolized gang members and killers as a freshman. His senior year is now. He stood in front of our team, and some of our kids can co-sign this, and parents can co-sign this. He stood in front of the team, he said, I used to idolize those dudes. But after I went to Penn State and got a chance to see the bigger picture, I'm so excited for school. So we take that away from them, what else are they gonna go to? If this is a kid that literally was 1 foot in the gang, 1 foot to like, I don't know, maybe sports, now he sees the bigger picture. Coach, how do I do this? What do I gotta do to get myself in the right area? So I'm saying don't take away like what you'll call contact sports. The studies are showing that once we learned about it, the reduction is starting to go down. It's still early in its infancy, obviously, but we just give it more time, eventually it'll even itself out. So that's just my thoughts as far as about it, and just thought process as far as going into like with the gang things, like she was saying how the gang's gonna rise. Is a former gang member, and Snoop Dogg also talked about like the reason why I created my youth program is to go back into the towns that we grew up in and snatch those kids away from gangs. He says within his program, kids that were never given a shot, 38 grads are in the NCAA, one's currently on the NFL roster, and Ronnie Hillman, who was just currently on the NFL roster, who just got a Super Bowl ring. The movie The Gridiron Gang is based off a real incident. Michael Black is the kid, and that young man literally was a gang member, decided to squash his gang thing. He was looking for a way out, went out to another school, got a full scholarship to Washington State, ended up getting drafted, played with the Seattle Seahawks, and that changed his life. And now he's going back in this community and changing it. If we get rid of sports, where the positive role models going to come from? Who are they going to reach out to? Every summer, I was telling one of the older gentlemen out there, the Capital Prep alumni that are starting to pull out are coming back and they're teaching the other kids. Like, and it ain't just them, there's a few other kids that I work with as well and that are just reaching out, like, how do we help out with the environment? Terrence Knight is another one who I speak to, who's obviously in Windsor, who played football in Windsor, but like, yo, coach, what can we do more to help out with this environment? If we get rid of sports in school, who's gonna come back and really pour into our kids? Who are they gonna idolize? It's just gonna be a dream, and a dream with, I'll say this, a goal with no action is a dream, and if we got nothing for these kids to strive for, the loudest voice is gonna win, and it ain't gonna be us. They're not gonna be engaged in school. They're not gonna try to do their homework. What's gonna motivate them? I went to school for sports, and I was so competitive, I went the highest grades in the class. So I'm saying don't do this to our kids. Let our kids have a chance. Let them compete at all facets, and not just be this. It's a reason called student athletes. Let them compete in the classroom, and also let them know they can compete in the field. Like,
Lord, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All our time. Anybody else like to speak? I like to hear from some of the students, who are benefiting from playing the sport.
And some of the girls, too.
Oh, you're not going to hear from the girls over there. All right, come on, guys. You guys are out there playing. What is this sport? I mean, what about camaraderie, the teamwork? Go ahead, Councilman.
So can I get a hand of who here plays sports?
There.
Okay, we have someone here.
All right, good.
Make sure you say your name so I can write it down.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Devon Massey. I'm a 2017 graduate, Capital Prep. As Coach said, I was one of the kids today. I was supposed to go up to Boston College for a visit. I'm also one of the kids that got invited to the National All-American Combine, which many kids from Connecticut usually don't get invited to, which is a pretty big deal. Personally, I'm not gonna take up too much time, but for me, myself, I kind of struggled in school, not because I wasn't smart, just because, I decided that I wasn't gonna be as serious as I should have been. But something that kind of got me through it was football and sports in general, because it kind of engaged me a little bit more and pushed me, and knowing that I could possibly go to college for 4 years and not have to pay anything from just playing the sport was just kind of something that pushed me a lot more than a lot of people would take advantage of. So personally, I think taking it away from the amount of people that's in Connecticut, kids, youth. I have a little brother that's about to go to high school, and it's like, for him to not be able to do that, he's another person that I know personally can't stay focused without something, like some kind of incentive, something to look forward to, something to just, you know, have a good time, take his mind off of school. And it would be a shame to see a lot of people losing that opportunity that everybody's had over the years growing up in Connecticut playing these kind of sports. I think personally it's a really important thing for all these kids because it's not only just, you know, playing the sport, it teaches a lot of things, as in working with others. You know, it's a lot of discipline which transfers into school, how you grow up as a person, a human being in life, a way that you become, and it's just something that it becomes a natural ability that you work with every day. So I think it's more than just looking at the negatives and these injuries and the contact, because you can get hurt in anything. So it's a positive and it's a negative, but you gotta look at the positives that these sports have been showing out in Connecticut over time.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
I have a question. So I'd like to know, what's your opinion about the concussion situations that's going on in football? I love football. I played it in the streets, never played it in high school. But there is a seriousness about this concussion situation where, you know, we're losing players, and mostly minorities, that play football. I know in my time, we always think gladiator, all right, rather than safety. So what's your opinion about that?
Personally for me, concussions is a serious thing, but at the same time, it's gonna occur within a lot of different things. It's not always just sports. So personally, it's gonna occur. I know a lot of people that's gotten concussions that's never even played sports before. You know, close friends, brothers, and it's really just how you're taught. And a lot of people, it's not always a sport, and some people just weren't taught the right way. They're not taught to hit correctly. They weren't taught, you know, how to tackle, or, you know, how to go up the right way playing basketball. So it's a lot of factors in that go into that. That's not just it being contact. It's sometimes who's teaching it, the way it's being taught, and how people go about it.
Good, thank you.
I appreciate that. That's what I was looking for.
And I was talking to one of our state reps yesterday, and he was saying, you know, elementary school is a contact sport. You know, he has a 4-year-old kid, and he said he come home with injuries all the time, you know, just playing outside. So I just want to make sure that as we're talking about sports today, this evening at this meeting, we're talking about sports in the Hartford Public Schools, elementary and high school. We're not talking about what's happening, you know, in the NFL and beyond. We're in our world right here about how sports is played with and by our children. Anybody else?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. Good evening. My name is Tammy Millsaps, and I'm an employee at Capital Prep.
Millsap?
Miss Millsap, yes, ma'am. I'm listening to the comments in regards to the issue about high school sports, and particularly contact sports. We all know that there's a proposal for the superintendent to revamp the schools. So have we thought and we understand that we're having problem getting kids in the seats, correct? If we get rid of a contact sport such as football, do we realize that those students will go somewhere else and play? They're gonna go to suburbs and play where they have an opportunity to play. So if we're talking about finding a solution to the problem of revamping our schools and getting students in the seats, we know that sports are tremendous to particularly the African American minority community. Why would we get rid of a sport or sports that are so advantageous for our communities, and knowing that those students will go elsewhere to play? Those students are going to go to Glastonbury, Avon, Simsbury, and they're going to be playing football on those fields. Second point, sports is an opportunity for kids to have a dream, and also the bigger picture is it helps them pay for college. Not every kid is going to suit up and have an opportunity to get an athletic scholarship. But let's give an example for Capital Prep. At Capital Prep, on average, we have 5 students who sign some form of athletic aid. Every year, 5 students. So on average, $30,000 times 5 is what? Anybody got a calculator? It's a lot of money. So you might say it's only 5, but 5 people matter. We need to really think about what we're talking about here. The opportunity for a kid from the streets of Hartford who has a passion to pursue football, lacrosse, or whatever you want to designate as contact sports, we're taking that opportunity away, not only for them to play and stay in the city of Hartford to help fill seats, and number two, give them an opportunity to have financial security and have an opportunity to go to college, to gain a college degree. Isn't that the bigger picture? Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, I'm here. My name is Barbara Boudet. I live in Glastonbury, but I am a proud teacher at Capital Prep. And I would like to speak about the sports. First of all, as a parent of a high school student in Glastonbury, if they remove sports, she plays basketball and soccer, I would pull her from Glastonbury Public Schools. And I would have that luxury of being able to do that. Unfortunately, a lot of our students do not. Why would I pull her? For a couple of reasons. First of all, we've talked about the college opportunities, absolutely. Second, my daughter is a better person because she plays sports. She plays on a team. She learns how to get along with others. She learns how to fall and get up with grace. That does not happen without sports. Finally, as a social justice school, we are all about opportunity. And my Glastonbury daughter plays basketball and knows very well a number of my Capital Prep students. Not because I introduced them, but through the sport. So because of the sport, our students are having the opportunity to interact and experience with students and remove that isolation that would be given to us, our students. So without sports, these students wouldn't have an opportunity to travel, to interact with students who don't look like them, to see the world and experience and dream, because now they know what they could be dreaming about. So I think that's most of all the opportunity, and as a social justice school, and I will tell you, I've been an educator for 20 years. I've had the luxury, the joy of somehow or other landing at Capital Prep. I will be here till I retire. It is one of the most amazing places we're building the whole child. And it's because of the sports academic balance. Thank you.
Sure.
I'll take the opportunity just as a segue. My name is Michelle White, a parent, also a coach of track and field at Capital Prep. And I said I'll take the opportunity as a segue because my daughter is a graduate out of the Hartford Public School system, and her school costs $48,000 a year. We pay $6,000 because of sports. That balance between sports and academics, she was privileged enough to have a partial scholarship in sports and a partial scholarship in academics. My son, as an 8th grader at Capital Prep, will be playing sports once he gets into high school, and I'm hoping that he's able to maintain that balance similar to our daughter. Again, having the emphasis not only on sports but also on academic. But I will also speak to you as a graduate of the Hartford Public School system during the 1990s, where we're talking about the 20 Love and Los Olidos at that point in time, Hartford High. So, I will tell you that without sports, I would not be the person that I am today, and my siblings would not be either. In that we were on the track team, my brother was on the soccer team, I was on the track team as well, and my husband, who is a football player and a football coach, was on the football team for his school. Again, when we're talking, Coach Millich came up and he spoke about the gangs coming back into Hartford. Without having that connection during the 1990s, a lot of my peers are not here today. Some are dead and some are incarcerated. So for those that forgot what the 1990s looked like, I'm here to remind you of that. And yes, our students are going to have choices in which they are going to leave the city. We already see commercials that are pulling our kids out and are telling them that they have the choice of going elsewhere, but that elsewhere comes with unintended consequences. In terms of, in my case, I will give you a great example, the mistreatment based on your race because you don't necessarily belong, right? So we're sending our kids elsewhere and we're pulling them from the inner city, but those are some of the unintended consequences. And for a good education, as a parent, we're going to do whatever it takes to educate our child. So I'm sending you to this suburban school, and that's awesome. And I'm telling you, you have to develop a tough skin because it's not going to be easy. We should not have to put our kids outside of the city because we continue to take from them. How much more can we take? We are working in Hartford with bare minimum. Our tracks are a disgrace. Our football fields, I won't even go there in terms of the potholes that these guys have to play and run on. And you know what? We make it work. Capital Prep in 2014, they won their first football championship. Hartford High has a long history of championship, which I'm praying and hoping that they bring back. But talk about football championship, track championship, right? Athletic championship, basketball championship. I think Capital Prep has come into the city of Hartford a perfect timing in terms of being that shining light for the city. A balance between academics, a balance between sports and academics, and ensuring that every single student athlete is able to graduate and is able to get into a four-year institution if they could so afford to. And if they can't get into a four-year institution, having the community college next door to save a parent $48,000 for the first 2 years and perhaps segue into the next 2 years. So our kids are going to have choices. Our parents are going to have choices, and those choices are going to involve Creeman, which took place during the 90s, and parents sending their kids to other institutions in order to get that opportunity. So we truly have to consider, what does it mean? The dollar sign or some of the unintended consequence behind our decision? So here we are in a room with about 35 people to discuss the future of the Hartford Public Schools as it pertains to football and other contact sport, right? Or sports that have risk. Yes, we're representing Capital Prep, right? Many of us that are here. But I will tell you that unless those that are unaffected by some of these decisions stand up with those that are affected, change is not going to necessarily take place. So we may go back to the era that we had during the 1990s, where the gang took over the city of Hartford because we're not giving our kids the opportunities that they need to compete. I will keep my son at Capital Prep as long as he has the opportunity to be a student athlete, because I know athletics is going to offer him many of the benefits that are going to transfer into corporate America, right? Knowing that you have to be on time, knowing that you have to work within a diverse group, knowing that you have to work with people that you may not necessarily like, right? But we have to get it done. Those are some of the provisions, just a few of the provisions behind athletics. And I had the opportunity to briefly look over the data. But you have to recognize that for every research that is conducted, there's another research that's going to contradict that, right? So are we going to stop pushing our kids in swings because they could fall off, hit their heads, and get a concussion? Perhaps not. Are we going to stop taking showers because as we walk into the bathtub, we could fall and get a concussion? Perhaps not. So I respect the research, but we also have to use our common sense as it pertains to this type of discussion. Are we going to change our way of life simply because a new research tells us that there are issues with concussion? Let's look at the education track of concussion, and let's educate our coaches as we have been doing to continue to improve to the benefits in terms of the health and risk factors of students that are playing contact sport. But on a last note, a final note, yes, we have football as one of the main sports, but that's, when you truly look at the data, most of the concussions, particularly for female athletes, do not come from football. They come from soccer. So are we then going to expand to eliminating soccer, and then are we then moving into women's basketball because of the fact that when you're going up for a layup, you may come back down and elbow someone in the head? I mean, to what extent are we going to over-exaggerate? And I respect what we're doing. I'm not downplaying one concussion. It's one concussion too many. But what I'm saying is we cannot change our way of life simply because of something that we don't fully understand. We need to continue to educate our coaches, and we need to continue to educate our players and our parents. And change will come out of that education. As Coach Miller said, we are already seeing states in which the data is suggesting that there are lower incidents of concussion. So it's something that we have to study. But unless we think of the unintended consequence for the young athlete, things may revert back to what many of us lived during the 1980s and 1990s within the city of Hartford. Thank you.
I'm gonna have to clap for you because you did really good.
Thank you for that. I'm gonna put Mr. Hardrick on the spot, and then I'm gonna let Councilman Deutsch, who is the maker of the resolution, speak. And I just want Mr. Hardrick to kind of, comment on what what's your name again? What Ms. White was saying, because he does a lot of work in our community with kids who are, connected to, gang affiliations, and if those young people would have had, other alternatives, might they have done, something else. So I just want you to kind of, make that connection for us.
Thank you for putting me on the spot. No, good evening, Council. It's very real. I have a grandson. He plays football at Capital Prep, but he goes to Achievement First. And what keeps him balanced is the football keeps him balanced with his grades. Because he loves football, but if he slip up on that, then he's not playing. And he understands that. Me and Dean, there was an incident that happened at the Y about 3 years ago, where it was after one of the UConn's championship. It was a young man, they had the parade downtown, and they jumped this young man downtown and broke concussions, broke his jaw, knocked his teeth out. It was a bunch of guys, which was the greats. He came through the wrong community at the wrong time. And evidently he had put something on Facebook. And if you want to know what caused concussion, Facebook. Because you put something on there and you go to a party, somebody's gonna whack you. Somebody's gonna jump you. You're gonna either get beat up going to the party, or you're gonna get beat up coming from the party. Or you're gonna be hit by the police officer trying to hit somebody that's at the party. So I'm only saying that kids will find a way. If you don't have organized sports, they're gonna organize it. And they're gonna have what they call street football. And there's no contact, there's no rules, there's no equipment, you can't protect anything, and they're gonna really hurt themselves very, very hard. We see the games, when you talk about the Magnificent 20s, Los Litos, Latin Kings, I mean, to me, the problem that we're looking at is the youth coming up now that are not playing sports. I'm seeing not a lot of people that have, concussions. I'm seeing a lot of people that's been shot in the head. When I go to the hospital, somebody got shot up here from ducking a bullet. I see bullets flying in the community. So, how do we, to me, that's the issue, because the bullets don't have a name, phone number, address on it. And wherever we go, but if we don't have organized sports to put them in, what Dean is doing, what Capital Prep is doing, what Weaver's doing, what Hartford High is doing, then they're gonna lean towards the street. They're gonna do something, even if it's wrong. So that kind of say, look, man, if you that tough, go play football. Or let's put them in the organized. Let's catch them early enough. Let's give them the academics that they need. Because we don't want people going through that. We got to stop the prison pipeline. And if people don't educate, we don't have sports, then they're going to incarcerate. And that's where we're losing a lot of kids. To the gang violence, the shootings that's coming out there, and it's beginning to creep up again very slowly, and they're getting younger and younger. But as long as we can organize sports and we put kids very early in those positions, something they like, then that's the balance that they have, on that aggression that they have, then they can get it off in something that's constructive.
Thank you, thank you. It's like, I just want to make one comment, now, like Councilman George speak. It's like, you know, what are we doing, you know, if our children don't have sports and there's no feeder system to greater, to better. I mean, America would literally shut down, you know, if there was no football, no basketball, no rugby, no soccer. I mean, it's what we do, it's our way of life. So this is the I think this is the foundation that give our children the opportunity to open doors, to get better, to meet other people. Somebody mentioned, you know, to go places that you normally would not have done had you not had the opportunity to play the sport. So, I mean, it wouldn't be fair if I didn't allow Councilman Deutsch, who's the maker of the resolution, to have his say. So, Councilman Deutsch.
Hi, my name is Tyreek Marquez. I am a member of Hartford Communities That Care Youth Leadership. For the past 27 weeks, we have been examining the intersection between education, poverty, violence, and trauma in Hartford. I have learned a great deal based on research we have done, but I would like to tell a personal story. On August 27th, 2008, I attended a parade in the north end of Hartford when bullets began to fly and one person was killed. 6 people were injured, including myself. I was 7 years old and I was shot in my head, leaving me with partial paralysis, something I still live with every day. I struggle, but I overcome, and I am no different from any other teenage boy. This is why I do things in my community, such as awareness events with my mom and the Victims Against Violence group. I also do things with HCTC because we want to see change. Thank you for taking the time to hear my story.
Might as well stand up. Everyone else did. We have already accomplished a lot and succeeded in a sense, and I'm so glad you all are have come, which is actually one reason I threw this resolution out. And so, you know, I guess, let's see, what should I say? I may need some help from colleagues and you all as to why I even woke up one night. It might have been after one of the reports of football coaches or parents themselves that had grown older and suffered brain encephalopathy. Everyone knows the term. So let's see. I should say a few words about myself, and then I don't think there are going to be any decisions made tonight, I guarantee, and certainly not a decision to eliminate all sports, which nobody proposed. Nobody has. It only said the kind of contact sports that make a lot of concussions, and it's true, any sport. We're getting in and out of the bathroom, you know, you can get hurt crossing the street. On the other hand, let's see, I don't want to be too academic or medical. I had 3 kids graduated, you know, I have to say from Buckley, not from Hartford Public. They were athlete scholars. And they all played sports. It happened they didn't play football, you know. They played basketball, softball, swimming. And I happen to grow up in New York City, so I've had some contact, but not as much as here. And I happen, most of all, I didn't mention, to be a doctor. I happen to be a pediatrician. So I have to know some of this stuff medically, but also hearing it from the mouths of some parents and some coaches who have grown older and suffered. And you know, some of them have killed themselves. This is just coming from the news. This is not just, you know, some guy from who detached on the, and so I gave out, you know, I made just a few copies and made a lot more, and I could make more from the medical literature. I don't think the technical thing is going to do it, though, because you all know that there's more to it. You said that. It's not just a matter of medical consequences where you keep doing this long enough, and sooner or later you'll be staggering when you're 35. You know, this happened. So I'm so glad that all this was brought out. I've known Carl the longest, and I get the point. And well, let's see, I'm trying. And so the first thing is, Miss White mentioned the sports that her children were in, track and soccer. Is that what you said? Your kids were in track and soccer. I understand, but your kids were in track and soccer, and nobody's saying those are the kind of contact sports that gives a lot of concussions. Nobody's saying that about basketball, I don't think. Yeah, I understand. There are all kinds of degrees, and likewise, when you all came down here, you know, you could have been in a van that could have been hit by a bus or something. So I know everything is a matter of risk, but I don't think many people thought in the way that you all expressed about a means to other ends and to thinking and so on. And when you treat, let's see, besides getting a medical degree, I got a public health degree. And some people here in the city say that violence and these concussions and so on are all matters of public health, which is about prevention. You know that any good doctor is supposed to prevent accidents before they happen. And as someone just said, and again, I know the chair is not going to let me go on too long. Maybe I already did, but if the literature has shown that we had a 33% reduction in concussions due to good education of coaches, right? Someone just said that, all right? Well, that's good. Yeah, thank you. That's good, and it shows that the education as to, let's say, how to tackle or how to avoid concussions is making a difference. Let's say you believe the statistics. We have to. I think, you know, some people say, well, you can always get studies, and one of the things I handed out said that when you hear something from the NFL, you have to take it with a grain of salt, right? It's just like when you hear someone from a cigarette maker saying there's no risk, you have to think twice. And you all as high school students and beyond high school have to listen to what's been said and what's been found, and to continue to not only read this stuff. I mean, we could the stuff that I passed out, and I should have made even more. I'm gratified that everyone showed up, and there are a lot of issues, and including, let's say, the issue of scholarships. And again, some people, you know, they get scholarships in track, in soccer. They're just building a new soccer stadium here, which may have some football too. The chair of the school board is here, thank goodness, and he just told me, of course, he played football but suffered some injuries, and fortunately, he's still an intact and walking man, and not someone who and not someone who was damaged by a concussion. As an example, whether he be only 28 or 46, like some of the coaches have. So, what I think is, by bringing up this question, it also may have people think of some other choices. You know, whether it be, let's say, any kid that has hazards, Again, the competitive sports. But the resolution, believe me, doesn't say and didn't intend that it should eliminate all sports. I mean, you must have read that nobody wants to eliminate all sports from high school. You know, you just want to be safe, just like you wear a seatbelt. So there are a few issues there, and the medical issues. I just touched on the medical issue, being a doctor and seeing people who sort of become vegetables or they commit suicide. That's not so good. And
let me just come back. I just want to reiterate our focus. We're talking about elementary and high school students. We're out there. We're right here. So let's stay on elementary and high school.
Okay, we're staying in elementary and high school, but once someone gets into a certain sport, everyone knows they're not just going to quit when they graduate high school and do something else. They could, of course. Okay, so let's say we focus on the school system, because that's the only thing that the school board and the city council and everyone has some control over, not once they're in college, which we want people to get to. And capital prep is especially sensitive issue in that regard, and getting scholarship money is also sensitive. There are also some legal issues, I think. I'm not going to go into that, which I don't know.
High school students, for elementary and high school?
There's some legal issues as to whether city council could do anything, even if it wanted to, which I don't think it will. Looking at my colleagues, you know, looking at myself, you can go home tonight dancing, because I don't think this will fly, at least not now, until there's even more evidence and you all get convinced, which I don't expect, you know. You may want to go more for soccer and avoid headshots like they talk about in soccer. You may want to go to swimming. That's a good, healthy sport. Not too many people get injured. You may want to have track. So first I should say, just a matter of fact, nobody's talking about eliminating high school sports and eliminating scholarships and a sense of unity and team spirit. It happens in football, I guess, is the biggest one. You know, but there is basketball and so on. And so, you know, I'm a basketball fan because not as many people wind up impaired, that's all. I mean, I think that's a fact. So here, I certainly want other people to keep on talking about it. I know they'll all write to their city council people, and this, even if this motion gets to city council, it'll probably go down 8-1, you know, because a lot of times I'm the 8-1, the one person out of the 8, which I accept, but we have to deal with the subject, because whether it's Muhammad Ali, who had brain damage, as you know, in his later years, not that he shouldn't have boxed, or it's a football coach who regrets, who gets up in public and says he wouldn't let his own son play in football. You know, there are a lot of those things. It's not just me. For the mothers and fathers, I don't know what they would do. If you may have some parents who have high school students and wish that their kids would choose something else, but they can't say it because, you know, they may not want to come down on their kids who want to play football, even if they prefer basketball or something, right? Okay, so there are other choices. Nothing's going to be decided tonight or even at the next council meeting, and if and when it is, it'll be an endorsement of most school sports, and the only thing is whether there's something to say about football. So here, by all means, come on. I'm sorry. This is the chair. This is the chair. That's right. Okay.
All right. So no, we are going to make a decision tonight on this resolution, what we do with it, and let me lose my train of thought. But no, we're going to make a decision tonight. You know, either we're going to support this or we're not going to support it. And I'm going to get to you in 1 minute. But let me just speak for the record. I will not be, you know, in support of this. And for the benefit of those who are here today, this is a public meeting. So you all represent the public. You don't only represent your school, you represent every parent, every student, every child who attends our schools. You're the voice that we will hear for the public. That's how it works here in this building. When people come and speak, it's a public meeting, you speak for the public. So it's not just for your school, you're here speaking for everybody.
I think that,
yes, because otherwise, we can't see.
We need your name.
All right. I think that,
for the record, you need to say your name.
Shamar Logan. So I think that if we're speaking for the public, our school and the public, there's been so much talk about elimination within Hartford over the past year, and our students are right at the center of that.
And not only are our students the center of that, but they feel that. And the psychological stress on them is quite heavy. So not only are we talking about eliminating other areas, and I'll try to keep it to sports, I understand why we're here, but when you begin to take away so much from them, they feel that. And we want to say to our children, we keep saying to our Hartford Public Schools children, we want the best for you. We want to give you the best. We want to provide you with the best. And the reality is, a lot of us have options for our children. We don't have to keep them here. But for a lot of the public, they don't have options. So we need to make sure that we give them that. And if we discuss social justice, it's standing up for people who don't have those options, which is what we're doing now. So when we keep taking away from our children, how do we expect them to believe that we want the best for them and within this community? I'm not from Hartford, but I've grown to love Hartford. How do we say to our children, we're going to continue taking from you, but yet we still need you to perform. We still need you to show up. We still need you to graduate. We still need you to put your all into it, but yet we're going to take this away from you and take that away from you. And now on top of everything else, we're taking away something you love, which is sports. And we may not want to talk about how important sports is to academics, but right now, I can think of a 5th grader whose life circles around football. He has been playing football since he was in 3rd grade as a quarterback. All he's been thinking about is, I cannot wait to get to high school to play in Capital Prep for the high school league. I'm going to go to Ohio State University on a full scholarship. I'm going to major in this, and I'm going to play football. That's his entire life. And he gets up every day, taking the bus from Barber Street, coming here on time, just so he can get to football practice, just so he can perform in school. So we can't, and I understand what you're saying when you're like, it's not going to be every sport, but the issue is, it's a dangerous rhetoric when you start talking about taking away something from inner city children. They're losing a lot already. And if we talk about education, I do believe as a coach, all of us had to take a semester worth of classes that were over $400 that taught us how to teach athletes. I coach cheerleading. We're competitive though, so we get concussions just as much as the next person. A lot of concussions. We had to take this course that we paid for, $400 of our own money, to learn how to treat concussions, how to keep them from happening. What are the signs? It was a 13-hour medical course. So our coaches are quite prepared to not only teach our student athletes in the classroom and out of the classroom. It all combines. So again, when you're talking about the city of Hartford and our children, it's a dangerous rhetoric when you come in and you continue to say, we're going to take this and this and now this. They're losing enough already.
Thank you. Wait, one more.
I just had a question when you said that you want to go here to speak from here. I just have a question.
Go ahead. What's the question?
My question to you, sir, is you said that kids have other options to go other places. Are you aware of the roster size of a basketball team versus a football team? Not every kid's gonna make it on a basketball team. On my football team, which is a small team, we got about 40, 45 kids. On a basketball team, you might hold maximum 16. What happens to the other kids that don't make it? What are they gonna do in the wintertime? Because basketball only fields so much. So I understand you saying there's other options, there's other places. Last time I checked, Capital Prep doesn't have a pool. So what happens to the schools that don't have swimming? What are they gonna do? In the wintertime, that's a lot of time when people stay in close. That's when a lot of people that's where people are close together. That's where the opportunities for a gang member or whatever, yo, I got you, I see you, I'll take care of you. And then by that time, they're gone. I'm sorry, man. I've lost kids to gangs. That's why I disagree with you on that issue. I've lost kids to gangs. I understand it. I've seen it. And I'm telling you, I've also won kids from gangs. I've seen it. I'd rather have my chance of taking them where I got you, I put them in the right ceiling, and help you grow and mature the right way as a man where, let's call it what it is, no offense to any females in here, but football is mainly towards, like the male gender. So I just want to let you know, it's like for these guys to grow up as young men, they need to be around other young men or other men push them in a positive light, and you're not going to get a lot of, basketball, one person can take over a game. In football, you can be the best running back in the nation and still lose by 6 touchdowns. So I just want to bring that to your attention. The best on that football field not always wins. So I just want to bring your attention. Like, that's just my thought process on it.
All right, thank you. Right, Councilman Sanchez?
Yeah, this is a question for all the coaches. So, and I appreciate the information that it's $400 for a semester.
$375 for a coaching staff.
Okay.
Just about everything. About, I want to say, between 9 and 13 hours of it is medical.
All right. So Is it safe to say that although, you know, most or all coaches go through this semester, that there's quite a few coaches out there that doesn't abide to the rules and regulations to teach our players, our young children, or you know, high school kids and the grammar school kids on how to properly play football? Because I think that's a question that needs to be addressed there.
Right, and I think that's like the same. I think you can address that without having to necessarily remove sports. So for instance, and I speak for our school because I know what we do. So for instance, we're very vigilant about making sure that we're teaching the correct things. Every coach goes to the training. If a coach comes on, you know, and they haven't had the training as of yet, they're not coaching by themselves. They're coaching with another coach that is trained and that is monitoring, and it is helping to make sure everything is implemented safely. So I think that can be addressed without necessarily having to remove sports.
To extend on that, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Yes. All right, so Councilman Deutsch, Councilman Sanchez has a suggested amendment for you. So we'll see how the amendment goes, and then we'll vote accordingly.
So I myself would not be supporting this ordinance or resolution, but I will support it, but I'd like to get the input from everyone here. So as far as the resolve, the original states that contact football and similar risky sport activity and playing fields be removed as offerings and fields in the Hartford Public Schools. So that's the original. My suggestion is this, Councilman Deutsch. Resolve that football and similar contact sport activity be taught in the correct, professional, safe manner, and that all players and coaches be held accountable for unnecessary and intentional actions causing injuries in the Hartford Public School system.
You want me to answer that? Mm-hmm. Good. Well, first of all,
yes or no, do you accept that as a friendly amendment?
Well, the information is it's not necessary because it's already a state law. Everyone should know that.
Do you accept it or you don't accept it?
No.
You need to, do you accept it?
Yeah, of course I accept it, but there's already been action at the state level.
Hold on. Okay, so if you accept it as a friendly amendment, okay, so then I'm going to second the motion to the amendment, and then we're going to vote on it. Okay, so all in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Okay, aye. All right, now discussion.
Okay, real briefly, you know, it'd be possible, the way they do in Congress and the state legislature, to get all kinds of experts on both sides. Everyone knows that. You could have people testify, neurologists and so on, who have looked at brains of people who have gotten a lot of concussions. There is no way to treat a concussion, by the way. Whoever said that, no. You can try to prevent them. And what you've said is there's no way to completely prevent them either. Just like anything.
Like about a minute, Councilman Deutsch, because what your discussion should be is the discussion on the amendment that Councilman Sanchez.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, accepted. Yeah, we voted yes on the amendment.
Okay, so your discussion should be just on this amendment, not other stuff.
You didn't vote on it
yet,
right? Okay.
Have you voted on this amendment?
Yeah, unanimously.
It was a voice vote?
Yeah. So the discussion is only on this, and so for those of you who did not hear it, the resolve for the resolution is that football and similar contact sport activities be taught in the correct, professional, safe manner, and that all players and coaches be held accountable for unnecessary and intentional actions causing injuries in the Hartford Public School System, period.
I need it.
All right. So, all in favor of the resolution?
Oh, the resolution as amended. Okay. So explain.
There's no other explanation.
Well, when we do that, we have a resolution now, but it's changed. It's amended.
Right. So now instead of being against sports, we're for sports being taught, and anybody who does unnecessarily or intentional actions to harm should be held accountable. All right?
Now, how about the people do? The people
they don't get to vote, you know better.
No, but they get to give input.
No, they do not.
Do we see nodding heads? Yes or no?
They can be in agreement, but they don't. All right, so we're going to vote on the item as amended.
Okay.
Can I get a motion?
I'd like to make a motion for favorable Recommendations to council.
As amended.
As
As
amended.
amended.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Overall, I want to talk about just the fact like how sports is just in Hartford. I think that we should continue to have sports in Hartford as far as football and lacrosse is concerned. Lacrosse is starting to grow. We just started with our youth program. We're going to get kids, to try something new in the spring just to get them active because, that's turning towards the winter time to the spring just to get kids moving. The next thing as far as football concerned, as far as what I've seen personally, I think it's going to be if they get rid of, as far as football and other contact sports, basketball and all that stuff, we lose out on scholarship opportunities and a chance for these young men to go places. Like myself, coaching at Capital Prep, I brought these guys to Ohio State. I brought them down to Boston College, Rutgers, UConn. They've visited these places. Last week I just came back from Clemson, or contact in Michigan. This past year alone, we had about 5 to 6 kids get scholarship money, 2 going to UConn, 1 going to CCSU. And I think if we take away sports, we take away these opportunities for some of these young men to get off the streets. And if we lose football and a few other sports in total, you're opening up the door for gang violence to start to thrive and go from there because kids listen to the loudest voice. I really firmly believe if we don't give them another direction, other gangs are going to start creating, they're going to start setting up shop, they're going to start taking these kids, and then at that point now it becomes a real detriment and a real issue for the community as a whole. I really firmly believe that we need sports in Hartford, and I'm not just speaking for me, I'm speaking for these young men behind me, I'm speaking for the kids that are unaware of this, I'm speaking for those that are at the school that are still doing their work and all that stuff, and I think it's important, man. These dudes understand it. I got one kid that stands behind me that just came back from the U.S. Army or got nominated for U.S. Army All-American Combine, another one's at the school, and I just think it's not fair that we take these opportunities away from these young men. Give these guys a chance, let sports stay. I'm telling you they can do great things if we allow it. We just got to continue to push for it. That's really what I got to say, Coach. So.
We are Capital Prep and we support student athletes.